What is up, Sooner fans, Sooner Sir podcast football playoff official, and first is that I was dead wrong, Germ. I said yesterday on the live show, if Famone roster is on here, Famone, I called you out last night and I was dead wrong. I said last night there is zero chance SMU gets put in the playoff, and I was wrong. SMU made the playoff, so I'm kind of shocked, to be honest.
Yeah.
Are you, or did you think it would happen?
Yeah, at the beginning you're lagging out, so I don't know what the deal was. It could have been on my end. I'm shocked that here's what basically was said, Jay. I mean, I was totally wrong at the beginning of the year. I said 9-3 SEC schools. There'd be 9-3 schools that were in, Jay. I was wrong too. Not one 9-3 team got in from the SEC,
which is shocking. I don't see how that could happen. For David says Team SMU. I hope SMU wins a game in the playoff. I'm not rooting against them, but I do think it's not as much SMU. Oh, it is a little bit. It's the fact that how does the best conference supposedly in football only have 3 teams in the playoff? I think that's the shocking thing. It's not like basketball, and I think that's the problem I have with the selection thing. The best team that's been the best team all year long is Oregon. They went undefeated. They got pretty much punished for being undefeated. Go look at their draw. Their draw is not good at all. They don't get to host a game because they get a bye. And then they got to play the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee. And you got teams it's just the whole thing. They had Kirby Smart on ESPN earlier, and I agree with him a lot, big time. You can't have set buys for you. You got to see the 12.
Hey, but Chris, I agree they played for a championship game, but the point I was making, Jay, is it really does. And Eric, who said this early in the year, was right. Yeah, it's shocking. Not only am I wrong, I'm saying Eric's right, but it doesn't do any good to be in the SEC and play a really hard schedule in conference, because if you lose more than 2 games, you're done. I mean, Arizona State is playing better than maybe anyone right now, Jay. You can't argue that. But they had 2 losses, Jay. How many would they have had in the SEC? Now, I know you can't just say that, but
I think, Jerm, I think a lot of teams are comparing. Here's the problem. A lot of people are throwing the SMU stuff out there, but Penn State's beaten one ranked team in the last 5 years under Franklin.
And
Indiana,
Texas,
Indiana hasn't beaten anybody either. So I think
Indiana has not, and Jay, Texas hasn't.
And Texas hasn't. But here's what I'm saying. But this is my frustration. Okay, my frustration is this: in basketball, when they do the selection committee, they absolutely take into consideration your conference. OU's been in the Big 12 for years.
They get more teams in other conferences.
What?
They get more teams in other conferences, yes.
Because of why?
Strength of schedule inside the conference.
Exactly. They don't do that in the football committee.
Correct.
Baylor's in Texas Bowl versus an unnamed SEC opponent, per McMurphy.
Jody said OU versus Navy. No, that's not official.
Not official. No, that's just like I said last night. There's a bunch of fake reporting on Twitter.
I believe a lot of them, apparently.
And you fell for one of them today, Jerm.
Hey, I agree. I am super excited about the playoff. One of the matchups, Jay, that I am stoked about. Indiana Notre Dame.
Yeah, I am too.
The battle of Indiana schools. I think that one's going to be awesome to watch. I think Boise State's got a chance to go a little bit, and I think Arizona State as well. But again, as a Sooner fan, and when all the talk lately, all the narrative, Jay, last year, the year before was SEC, it just means more. It doesn't mean anymore now. Am I wrong?
No. Germ, and Chris is right.
In fact, it means less. It means less to be in a good conference. It means less.
Hey, Chris is right. That was the problem they had is if they left SMU out, they would basically say if they wouldn't have played in the ACC championship game, they would have made it. So the whole conference championship game means nothing, is what would have happened. But at the same time, and this has, first off, this has, my argument on this, Jeremy. This has nothing to do with Alabama, in my opinion. I just think another SEC team with 3 losses should have made it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
it could have been
SEC should have 4 teams.
It could have been South Carolina. Okay, Indiana. They did not play Penn State. The only team, they did not play Michigan, right? So they just played Ohio State. The scheduling within conferences is a problem too. You have teams that are playing really tough schedules and not playing all the teams. And I just think it'll be interesting to see what they do. But the number one thing that has to happen next year, in my opinion, if you stay at 12 teams, you have to seed 1 through 12. You got to forget the buys on who automatically gets buys. You got to forget it. Seed 1 through 12, first 4 get a bye. But you can't just have, the 4 conference champions get a bye. You can't do that. You got to seed 1 through 4. I think that's what you have to do.
Hunter said the SEC released announcement that remaining SEC bowl games will be announced later today. No announcements are official until the conference team or bowl announces the matchup. And the other thing is, Jay, with Alabama not making the playoff, that's another SEC team they got to find in a bowl, so that could affect OU.
Yeah, and Spaghetti watched him in person. Genty, he's for real. He's unbelievable. Chris says go back to the divisions. I wouldn't be opposed to that, Chris. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
It's just, man, I don't know what to think about if I'm one of those teams at 9-3, because you unfortunately you can't change it, Jay. But I think there should be, for example, I think the SEC and the Big Ten, they should just get 4 automatic bids.
Hey, here's what should have happened. Here's what should have happened, in my opinion. If you're going to put SMU in, that's fine. Put them in. Put SMU in. You know where they should have been seated? 8 or 9.
Why is that?
So they have to play.
You're talking about so they play a tougher team,
and then they play Oregon. Right now, they not only got in, they get Penn State and then Boise State.
Oh, I agree, Jay. It's a flawed system.
It's a flawed system.
Yep, you're right, Patriot. Oklahoma did not get in. Can't get in. It's bad. Bama didn't get in. Ole Miss. Look at all the teams that didn't get in. A&M, a lot of big dogs didn't get in.
You can go back and watch right now. You can go back and watch before the year when we picked kind of who we thought might get in. By the way, for some reason, I believe I did say SMU, but that's probably the only one that got right. How many people had Ole Miss? How many people had Bama? How many people had Missouri?
A&M.
None of them are in it.
Jay, the SEC is going to beat each other up, and it's going to hurt their conference. 3 teams. ACC gets 2. Almost got 3.
Miami was right on the outside looking in.
Yeah, what committee is saying is the ACC is almost as good as the SEC.
Yeah, in rankings they are. You're right. That's
crazy. Do you realize? Look, I love Scattaboo. I love Dillingham. I love Arizona State. I hope they make a run for the whole thing. However, they're 11-2. They did just whip up on Iowa State. Arizona State, 2 losses, Jay, in the Big 12, correct?
Yes. Now.
Wait.
1 loss was without their quarterback, so I throw that away.
2 losses. I don't give a rip. 2 losses in the
Big 12. You
don't
give a rip. Last year against the Florida State, you gave a rip.
Had nothing to do with what?
Yeah,
they didn't make the playoff when their quarterback was hurt, Jay.
Okay.
2 losses in the Big 12, Jay. Okay? They played 1 SEC school this year. It was a home game in September versus Mississippi State. They won by 7. They would have had 3 or 4 losses in the conference and missed it.
And you know what? Right now, if it was OU SMU, I'd pick SMU probably to beat OU. I mean, I don't know, though. I think that could be a good game. If you're talking about bowl game, I mean, who knows who's going to be playing in the bowl game and with all the portal stuff. But during the season, I think OU could beat SMU this year. Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, most teams can. I mean, you never know. On any given Saturday, something can happen. That's not the point. It's going to be fun in the playoff. I'm just curious, Jay. At the thought of the committee, did they look at inside conference games at all? I don't think they did.
I think what this comes down to, and I agree, Chris. I think SMU's a good team. I've kind of said it all year long. I think they're good.
You picked them, Jay.
But right now, I want to know in the chat, drop it in the chat right now. And I don't know if we could do a poll or not, but who's favored in the game with these four teams? If it's SMU versus Bama, who's favored? If it's SMU versus South Carolina, who's favored? If it's SMU versus Ole Miss, who's favored?
It probably depends on where it's at.
Neutral site.
And Patriot 141. Why play Michigan next year, and why go there in 2026?
That's
why go there in those games? You don't do that.
I think this all comes down to one thing. We had this discussion last year. I think this is the main thing that the playoff comes down to is this. Are you picking the 12 best teams? Or are you picking the 12 most deserving teams? That's what it comes down to.
SMU deserves it. They played a great comeback last night. They deserve it, but
so is it the 12 best or is it the 12 most deserving?
It's not. It's never going to be the 12 best. It's a flawed system.
Why?
It's a flawed system.
Why can't it be the 12 best?
It's a flawed system.
Here's the thing. Here's my problem.
That's why.
Here's my deal. If it's the you take the conference champs like they're doing, but when you get to the at-large teams, I don't know if you can do this like they have in the past when it was 4 teams. What they used to do was say, well, head-to-head matters if it's if you both have the same amount of losses, blah, blah. They always do the same amount of losses when you compare with other teams.
Yeah.
You can't do that. A 3-loss team versus a 2-loss team in a totally different conference, you can't compare it.
Johnny asked if they're planning on expanding the playoff. The talk has been maybe getting to 16. Hey, yeah, Greg says they picked the 12 hottest. I disagree because I think, even like Hunter said, South Carolina is one of the hottest teams. There was one other thing I wanted to get to, Jay, was this. Chris has a point. If you play a really good non-con and you win those games, maybe that would have helped you. It could have possibly.
No, they didn't look at good wins.
But they didn't look at wins. I agree, Jay.
They beat Georgia.
They didn't look at wins, Jay.
Did Bama beat Georgia?
What hurt Bama looked like were their losses.
That's what I'm saying. They don't take in consideration the big wins as much. I don't think. I don't know, guys. I was shocked, honestly. I thought yesterday there's no chance SMU gets in. But
where I think the system is flawed, Jay, is within the. And I say we open the phone lines if you want to drop the link in here, Jay. I'd love to hear from viewers about the college football playoff bracket that's been released. But Jay, would you agree with this? And there's the link, everyone. Hop on, call in, give us your takes. Would you agree with? And now I've lost my train of thought.
Well, let me say something while you're thinking of it.
Yeah.
If SMU doesn't make a comeback, do they get in? I think they get in no matter what. I think they get in no matter what, Jeremy.
I don't.
Because I think it's what Chris said earlier. I think it has to do with they made the conference championship and they weren't going to get dropped out.
And I figured out what I was going to say. Jay.
Oh, that's good. Your photographic memory checked in.
Yes. The flaw is within the conferences. A lot of it. Because why in the world, like look at the ACC. SMU did not play Clemson or Miami regular season. I mean, something's got to be done within the conferences to where it's flawed. I mean, I wouldn't want to. Let's don't play the big dogs in conference.
I agree.
Let's just play them in the conference championship game, and then it won't matter if you lose because it doesn't matter at that point.
Jimmy's asking, can Clemson upset Texas?
Anyone can upset anyone, Jimmy.
Who are you picking in that game?
There is no 1 versus 16 seed like there is in college basketball. These are all going to be, I think, upsettable games.
I think there'll be some blowouts.
Phone lines are open. Hop on. Give us your take. Keno says, Chris, have you seriously looked at SMU's schedule? Lost to the top 25 teams. It did play in a 60th ranked strength of schedule. Texas isn't far off either, but they played in the SEC.
I look at Ohio State, Tennessee. I thought that should have been flipped. I thought Tennessee should have got the home game.
Yeah, I mean, again, the SEC
matters too.
The SEC did not get love, Jay.
That matters, though. Home
Jay,
game.
the SEC does not mean more anymore. It's over with. The people that said the SEC means more, it doesn't anymore. The committee did not look at the SEC that way, Jay.
Okay, and Donta, thanks, Donta. I appreciate you calling this out. Thanks for joining today. The committee said SMU would not be in if Clemson had blown them out. So the comeback did did help them for sure. So thanks for pointing that out, Donta. Appreciate
Hey,
it.
Beck actually came back in the game at the very end of the game to hand the ball off. I think he's going to be.
Yeah, his arm was not.
Something was off, but we'll
Hey,
see place.
let me ask you this, and that's
wait. Keep chopping. Texas absolutely deserves to be in. Oh, you're saying hard to say that they do? They do because they made the SEC title game and they beat Georgia.
And they're only
sorry, they didn't beat Georgia.
Their only 2 losses are to Georgia, though.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. They have 2 losses. Now, who did they beat, Jay?
No, they haven't.
They haven't beaten anyone. I agree with that. Keep chopping. I agree they haven't beaten anyone, but they deserve to be in because they're in the SEC title game. I mean,
here we're sitting and arguing about a fourth SEC team gets in. Yeah, for sure Texas gets to be in. I mean, there's different things you could say about it, but
we got Coconut Greg on the line. What's up? Happy Sunday, Coconut Greg.
The bracket this year, I mean, I really don't see anything on it that I disagree with, but one thing I've noticed, and at least in my opinion anyway, this year they just seem to value your record. You know, kind of the highest records got in the playoff, and I can't really argue with that. But whereas last year you had a team like Florida State completely undefeated, who in my opinion earned the right to be there. Granted, yeah, they would have got their butts kicked, but they're like, the record's really good, but I don't see them being successful, so we're going to leave them out. So it's just moving goalposts every single year. I don't know how you get it right.
What's the criteria? That's the question.
And I don't think we'll ever know.
I don't either.
There's too much ambiguity to it, which I think is a little sad. And yet every year it seems like they're going to have their opinions on what is the criteria, and who knows what that is. That's really the only take I got. I mean, the bracket, I can roll with it this year, but it's like, what's it going to be next year? Who the heck knows?
Yeah, you're
Greg,
right.
thanks for the call. I agree. And hey, Jay, Florida State's got to be ticked after what happened last year. And then teams this year, just because they made their championship game, are in. Like, to me, it basically, they like Greg just said, that they moved
the year. It was a 14 playoff, Jerm. Stop.
They should have been one of the 4. They were undefeated.
I'm not talking about something that happened a year ago.
They changed the goalpost, Jay. They moved them.
Yeah, the things changed, Jerm. What do you want?
But what criteria changes? My point.
Great, they went from 4 teams to 12 teams.
But the same thing happened this year, Jay. It is the same.
How did the same thing happen this year?
Teams that you said deserved to be in, like a SMU, got in over a team like Bama.
Totally different. They lost their core. They were down there a 3rd-string quarterback.
And undefeated. And
Sure.
won their conference championship.
Jeremy.
They won their they absolutely should have been in last year, Jay.
Can you stop talking and listen for a second? Please. If SMU yesterday would have played that game with the 3rd-string quarterback and
won,
they would have
been in.
Yeah, because there's automatic bid, Germ.
That's what's changed. The criteria has changed.
It's a 12-team playoff with automatic bids, yes.
So talk about that, Jay, right now. The narrative. Greg said the narrative has shifted. The goalposts are moved. I agree they have. You'll never know either. The committee will never be held accountable as to really why things happen.
You go to sleep every night and you look at a Florida State poster and wonder, oh, man, I wish they would have made it. It was a year ago. I don't understand why you're even bringing it up.
He brought it up.
But you're bringing it up. The Florida State thing, like you're like saying they still should have got in. I get it. That was
I'm saying there are some similarities. There are some similarities to it.
There's no similarities.
Okay. An undefeated Florida State to a 2-loss SMU, there's similarities.
How?
In some ways, in my opinion. So whatever. I'm not gonna sit here and talk about Florida State Seminoles.
Hey.
Greg brought him up, not me.
No, but you went. I know Greg brought him up, and that's fine. But you're going a whole nother level with it. Patriot won.
They won the state. Before I go any further, just tell me, Jay. Did they deserve a right to be in it last year? That's all I want to hear.
They deserved.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. Let's move on.
I never said they didn't deserve it. Maybe do away with the conference championships. That one, I don't think it'll happen because of money, but I would agree with that. You could do that.
I want the committee to be elite. I'm sick of, let's send one guy out of the committee. Like someone said in the chat earlier, I want to have all 12 of them in a room.
I agree. Round table.
And let the press ask them questions.
I agree, Germ.
It's ridiculous. And I don't even have a dog in the fight. I'm just saying there are some other teams that probably had an argument here, but for the love of everything, put them in a room, let people ask them questions. Hey, why did you not pick this team in?
They do kind of, but they ask the one guy.
It's dumb. And they send him the list of questions before they ask him.
Yeah.
He already knows the questions.
And it would be great.
You talk about reality TV. I don't need The Bachelor or The Bachelorette or Survivor or Big Brother or Little Brother or
there
whatever.
There is no Little Brother show.
Put the 12 from the committee and ask them actual questions. That's reality TV at its finest.
And hey,
I don't even know why I'm getting fired up right now.
Hey, what about this point? Hickman would have stayed at SMU playoff. Wild.
You know what's wild is, Jay, had OU went 9-3 this year with their schedule, they would have gotten left out. Can you imagine the outrage in Norman, Oklahoma?
Well, you know what bothers me a little bit?
They would have gotten left out, Jay.
You know what bothers me a little bit? And maybe I shouldn't be this way. This is me being – just take this with a grain of salt, Sooner fans, because you know I'm a big Sooner fan. But I hate it what I've seen on some things today on Twitter with OU fans saying, ha, we got Alabama out of the playoff. I could care less.
Who cares?
OU got to be better, okay? I'm super excited they beat Alabama. Super excited about it. I'm glad they beat Alabama 24-3 and didn't allow a touchdown. But, hey, call him a jerk too, Patriot. That's fine.
Hey,
I do.
A lot of people call me that. I answer to both, but I am passionate every night. Oh, by the way, we do go live every night at 9:30. We're here every night at 9:30. We just did this live here because it's college football playoff selection announcement.
Actually,
fun to talk about.
Actually, we were talking on the phone and we're like, well, if we're going to argue on the phone, we might as well go on a live show.
Callers are welcome. Hop on.
Hey, the team right now, I tell you another team I think got a little bit of they got screwed, but they got a better draw. Notre Dame.
They did him a favor, though.
No, Notre Dame is better than Penn State. They should be ahead of Penn State.
They did them a favor, Jay.
That's what I'm saying. They got a better draw, except they got Georgia round 2. That's the problem.
Oregon would have been better off losing last night.
They would have been better off losing.
Oregon
matchup.
They don't get a home game.
Correct.
And the matchups are difficult.
You know what I'd like to know is how does we haven't talked about this, but the money with the home game. You get a home game, how much money are you making of that?
It's not a small change, Jay.
Exactly.
Penn State's strength of schedule would have been I'm trying to think. Maybe not, actually.
I think
Penn State did not play Indiana.
Whoa, what is this, Hunter? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
What is?
They're playing a conference bowl game. In conference.
But it doesn't matter. They didn't play each other this year, did they?
No, it's still dumb. Yeah, they played each other.
Did Colorado, BYU play each other?
I think they already played.
If they played each other, it's absolutely pathetic.
It's still ridiculous.
No, if they didn't play each other, it doesn't matter.
Indiana's strength of schedule, not good.
No, it's bad.
Hunter, is that official? Corrections want to know. Hey,
Hunter doesn't put anything out that's not official.
That's true. He's not like you.
Correct. He does everything. Everything is apropos with Hunter.
Jeremy earlier called us and he was like, "Hey, looks like what was it about the bowl game or something?"
Bowl. I don't remember. Jay, geez, dude.
Hey, why are you shaking your head?
Because you're annoying, man.
Why?
Hey, phone lines are open. Hop on here and talk with us.
Hey, wild card game. Here's what I would say, dude. This is my thoughts on the home game stuff. I think the 4 teams that get a bye, their first game should be a home game.
I agree. Hey, Jay, did Colorado and BYU play each other? I don't think they did.
I don't remember. They did not play.
Jay, second round's going to be Ohio State versus Oregon, correct?
Unless Tennessee beats Ohio State, yeah.
So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's unbelievable.
At a neutral site.
You're right, Chris.
Just
if you just beat the teams on your schedule, you'll get in. But the problem is just hope and pray that your schedule is easier this year than other schools because you don't play even within conference. Again, why Texas OU schedules are that far different in other schools? It's ridiculous. Figure it out.
That's also the problem with the divisions is like the old SEC way. The one side of the conference was overloaded. The other side wasn't as bad. So you know what? Here's the other thing you could do. And maybe this is what you do then. You could take away the non-conference games and just play all conference games and play everybody.
I'm actually for that, Jay.
Just do away with all the non-conference.
You would have to make sure every conference has that amount of teams that you could.
That's the problem. You can't do it. But the other thing you could do is
you can't play all the teams, Jay.
The other thing you could do if you're the SEC is just say, okay, we're going to play 6 non-conference games and just going to play 4 in the conference. Go win your games. Won't happen.
Yeah, but the problem with SEC is you can't play all the teams in.
Here's a big question. Why not? And I'm not talking about OU. I'm just talking about why won't more teams just to say, you know what, we're just going to go independent football.
Now, I agree. I agree with that, Jay.
With Notre Dame, if Notre Dame does it, why? I mean, look at Notre Dame's schedule. You want to talk about a schedule?
It was cake, Jay. I mean, hey,
They beat Indiana.
Elaine, you're awesome. You're on here all the time. Way to turn on the notify you option so that you'll know when we go live. Appreciate it. Hunter says you can play divisions, and Hunter's welcome to hop on if he wants. 8-8 in SEC, 7 divisions, 5 non-division. 7 division, 5 non-division. Yeah, you could.
Yeah, so you go to 5 cupcake games and go to 7 conference games.
No, not cupcake. He's saying non-divisions.
Oh, he's saying playing all 12.
They're still within the conference.
What's up, Hunter? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if you were to go there, but again, like Jerm said, every conference would have to do that.
And you can't play them all.
If the SEC and the Big Ten were to just do that, why? What's the benefit? Strength of schedule means absolutely nothing anymore. I mean, the SEC, other than a couple of teams at the bottom, is very good top to bottom. I mean, you're seeing teams that are barely making bowl games competing with top 10 teams, upsetting them like Oklahoma did against Alabama that knocked them. That's the difference in Bama in the playoff and not in the playoff in the eyes of the committee. There's just, what's the benefit? There isn't one.
Well, is this going to eventually happen, what Steelerman says? I think it might.
Maybe. I don't know. I know it's way too difficult to come up with how many. I mean, you have 134 teams in FBS. Now you have, there's about 16 to 18 teams in each power conference on average in the 4. So about 70-ish teams, if I'm guessing, between the 4 power conferences. How do you do it? Kind of like the NFL does. That's what they need. They need, I don't know the correct answer on how to do it, but they need something that says you do this, you're make the playoffs.
Yeah.
There's no human opinions. I would even be fine if they went back to the BCS model where the computer generates the rankings and determines the teams.
But it's I would too, Hunter. I would too.
There's no, like, 1 year it's going to be like it is right now.
But isn't it about the NFL right now?
What?
It's kind of like the NFL right now, though.
No, it's not.
It absolutely is.
There's no rankings in the NFL, Jeremy. The media, people
Hunter,
are.
You know who gets in the NFL? The best record. And they don't all play the same people.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying. So you get the conference winners in, you get your division winners in the NFL, and the wild card is the best record despite who you play.
Okay, but it's way different. There's a set formula. There isn't 12 people sitting in a room in Grapevine, Texas.
Thing, Hunter. The SEC would have been left out in the NFL too.
Completely different. Well, what are you talking about?
It was by record, Hunter.
Sure. Why are we even comparing it? It's different.
Hey, it's very similar.
No, it's not.
It absolutely.
It's a completely different model. It's stupid to
even say. The model's different, but the record.
No, it has nothing to do with it in the same way that the NFL. The NFL
The
has
wild card is the best record, is what I'm saying.
All right, fine. Yep, you're right.
Well, I will say this: you're
right, Jeremy.
Hey,
That's what you want to hear. Yeah,
Hunter. There are times in the NFL where the wild card is way better than the division winner.
correct. But that's the set formula on how things
agree.
go. That the difference is, and yes, it's hard to do in FBS. I mean, there's 32 teams in the NFL versus 134.
I agree with that.
I don't know the right solution to it. I just think there should be something that takes out the opinions of 12 people meeting and trying to determine it, because it's not going to be the same. Or they need to establish rules of this is what we're going off of, because this year strength of schedule was out the window. When you look at Alabama,
let me ask you this, Hunter. Let me ask
next
you this.
year, that might be the difference between the 12th team in and the 13th team.
Hey, real quick.
Let me just ask something, Jay, from you and Hunter about the NFL. It was brought up the NFL. The 4 automatic bids. Okay, let's say you're choosing between 4 colleges to get in. You don't know who you want in your last 4, the committee, okay? Okay, Hunter? This is what I was saying. You look at the ACC, Big Ten, SEC. Got it? Those 3. And you say, okay, we got 3 spots. They chose the best record, Hunter. They did not choose. So what I'm saying is the best record is what won out in this deal, which is exactly what wins out in the NFL. What my point is, does anyone in the NFL, if Dallas doesn't make the playoff, I never say, well, Dallas had a harder schedule. People don't say that in the NFL.
But it's completely different. There's a
No,
set thing. The schedules are set up a certain way. You know, people don't have the same schedules. There's a formula behind it all. You play, 6 division games? You're playing each division opponent twice. There's all those different things. I don't know why you're comparing.
Hey,
Jeremy,
real quick, let me say something.
The wild card and the quote unquote wild cards for the playoff is different.
Let me say something. And this brings up a good point. You can either use the Michigan-Texas matchup or the Bama-Wisconsin matchup. If Texas would have lost to Michigan and they have 3 losses, they're not going to playoff.
Yeah, they would have, because they're in the SEC title game, Jay. Still would have been in the playoff.
You don't know that, Germ.
The title game makes it.
Yeah, they would have been in the playoff.
What I'm saying is it can harm you by playing those teams. It can.
It can, yes. And real quick, per Brett McMurphy, Boston College and Nebraska in the pinstripe.
Crud.
I was wanting Nebraska.
Yeah, it's not OU Nebraska. It'll be OU Navy.
That's one of the first Big Ten teams. Or no, I guess Illinois was announced. But a lot of Big Ten and SEC teams have not been announced as of late. There's been a string of tweets from him of Big 12 versus unnamed SEC opponent or unnamed Big Ten opponent. So
OU's not going to play Tulane again, surely. They've already played.
I have no idea. I mean, until I see
something there hearing that, Germ.
Army's a 1-loss team.
So again, I put it in.
I hope it's Army.
Danny, call in and tell me how you know it. I'll wait for you.
I put it in the chat earlier. Per the SEC, their official Twitter account, the only way to know if it's official is if the conference, the team, or the bowl announces that a team has accepted a bowl bids. So until then, I don't know. It's all guessing and all of that. So.
Well, Danny's got sources.
He wants to bet you $1,000.
Your source might be right, but it's not official.
Yeah, he might be right, but Army, a 1-loss Army team, I don't think plays OU. I think Army's got a better bowl than OU for sure.
If it's a 16-team bracket, does Army get in?
No.
They should, though, Hunter.
They won't. They wouldn't. They were ranked number 22 in the final poll.
Hey, back to the seeding stuff. You got to see
1 loss to Notre Dame.
Oh, okay. They're 22nd in the nation, Jeremy.
I know.
The loss part doesn't matter. It's the strength of schedule and strength of record that matters.
Why would Army
strength of schedule doesn't matter, Hunter? You said it earlier. That's
what the committee said. I do not agree with that. I think strength of schedule is one of the most important things that they should look at.
But
when
it doesn't matter. They just showed us that.
But it can change every year, Jeremy. And if it was a 16-team playoff, they're not putting the 22nd team in. Why? They're not the highest ranked. They're not in the top 5 highest ranked conference champions.
And that's my problem, Hunter. Obviously, strength of schedule matters in some teams, but not in others. It matters in Army's case. They didn't want to put them up in the front.
Hey, y'all explain this to me because I haven't watched the playoff.
It didn't matter in SMU's case.
I haven't watched the last playoff thing, but tell me why did they put Ohio State ahead of Tennessee, both with 2 losses? What
makes no sense to me? It's stuff like that. Like,
is it based off schedule? Is what I'm asking. Is it strength of schedule?
Look at how they've kind of ranked teams after losses lately. I mean, Texas lost to Georgia. Georgia's playing a backup quarterback in the second half. Gunnar Stockton. They lose that game. They drop to 3, which isn't the end of the world. I think they should have flipped 2 and 5 between Texas.
They've been left out since their quarterback's out.
Oh my! Why are we talking about this? This is stupid, Jeremy. It was a year ago. Move on. You're obviously still upset about it. A year later. I mean, they got it right last year and whatever. So back to that. Like, look at Penn State. I mean, they barely dropped. They still get about as good of a draw as you can get for Penn State, and they just lost. And then look at Oregon. They won. Sure. You're getting punished for winning. So.
Hey, is Army's strength of schedule higher than Indiana's? What is Army's strength of schedule?
I don't know.
They played Notre Dame and got lit up. I know.
And I hope Danny's right if it's Army, because that'd be the best matchup OU could have. They're a running team. It'd keep OU's offense off the field. That would be great. And Danny, you may be right, but if you're wrong, get ready. Check on those sources. So what is Army's strength of schedule? I don't know what it is.
Army's strength of schedule is 94. Indiana's is 68. So
big difference.
I'm looking at ESPN. So
yeah, get me, Hunter, get me.
Not sure what other people were looking at, but yeah, I thought Texas was going to get SMU. I thought Notre Dame would be the 5 seed. The whole thing of some of the ways and the rankings kind of played out, I don't get it. I
do like Ben's point.
Barely drop.
I'll agree with Ben. I think the loss to Arkansas.
No, I disagree on that.
What do you mean? Obviously hurt him.
Well, I know it did.
I
disagree that it's worse
losses than Ohio State.
What?
They had worse losses than Ohio State.
I disagree.
In what way, Hunter?
In what way?
What loss was bad for Ohio State?
Michigan, that cannot throw the football at home for the 4th straight year in a row.
But like Ben said, it's a rivalry game. That's what they'll say.
It doesn't matter. I don't care.
It does to the committee is what we're saying. Hunter, I'm in agreement with you.
The committee makes absolutely no sense.
Thank you.
Michigan team cannot throw the football. They score 13 points and you lose to them.
Thank you.
At home. As I mean, they were what, the number 2 team in the country at that point? Number 3? Yes, there's no straight formula for the committee.
Thank you.
I liked what you guys said about having media there.
Yes.
That would be great. It won't ever happen because these people can make decisions and only a couple people get to ask questions. I know Heather Dinich is there and she does a great job with all of her coverage for ESPN on it. But I mean, other than ESPN, there's no questions really being asked to the committee about why. And then there's no straight, okay, we're doing this and this is what we're going to go. It changes every year. It changed every year in the 14 playoff.
I don't know what they're doing. You finally said it. That's what I've been waiting on.
Yeah, it's changed throughout the year in this 12-team format. I don't know. It's going to be an entertaining playoff this year in college football. I mean, there's a Friday night game and 3 Saturday games in the first round, but it's still some of the matchups they did and rankings I don't agree with. I don't like that SMU SMU is a good team. I like SMU a lot.
I like SMU.
Win your conference, though. That's my issue.
Well,
I
When
don't
you're in
matter.
the ACC, you got to win it. I agree.
Yes.
No, you don't.
I
You
don't
just have to
think
make the title.
ACC is great. I don't think the Big 12 is great. Or Mountain West. I think there's whoever wins that conference should be in the playoff, and that's it.
SEC, it just means nothing.
Hey, and there's a gray god, USC versus A&M per Brett McMurphy. Here's the problem. Here's where the problem lies, guys. This is year one of the playoff. Okay? Year one. And now what you've done with this, quote, precedence on if a team makes the conference championship they're in, let me throw a scenario out. What if Iowa State would have had one loss going into that yesterday instead of two? Are they in two?
I still think you have to leave them out.
No, but what I'm asking is this.
I get what you're saying. Yes. I get
setting a precedent.
Yes, they are.
And you can't do that. If you're in a weak league, one team should get in.
It might change next year. I mean, I know there's been for a bit the push for the Big Ten in the SEC to get 4 auto bids guaranteed. They started that, I think, back in August, maybe in July. I mean, well before the first 12-team bracket was ever revealed. I mean, before the season even started. So maybe you see that. And again, they have to change the seating. They have to. You cannot be punished in the way that Oregon is by getting a way tougher draw than Boise State or Arizona State. It's just not fair. Like, what's the benefit of being the best team in the country? You should get a benefit for that. You are you're the only team to go undefeated in the power conferences. You should be rewarded for that.
Correct. I agree with you.
Jay, what if OU's strength of schedule was 70 this year?
What about
it? 70?
Was 70 instead of 6.
I mean, I think they're probably 7-5, 8-4.
Oh, come on.
Okay.
What would 70 mean? Tell me who you're playing in the SEC to get 70, and I'll tell you what.
Exactly.
You'd have to play all the bat. You probably couldn't in the SEC. What's the lowest SEC strength of schedule? I'm curious. That'd be interesting to see.
I do think this. I do think the whole thing about. I think that's where probably the biggest problem lies. We're talking about here who they pick to get in. The biggest problem with what's going on right now, though, is the fact that the way they schedule in conferences is you got to fix it.
Hey, I am so sick of Danny trying to come at me with you put words in my mouth every single night. I'm sick of it.
Well, it's daytime today. What's up?
I agree with Danny on that. I don't think it would change much for Oklahoma. It would change some, but not a lot.
When did I say OU's a decent team?
I don't know. I really don't care.
Hunter, you're wrong if you took the 3 best teams off OU's schedule and gave them scrums and don't think they might have a better record.
I just said they would have a better record. I don't think it would be much better, but it would be better, correct? I don't know why we're doing this. Okay.
I don't either.
So you asked.
I'm going to stop responding to Danny. My fault.
Hunter, what were you going to say?
All right. Can I go, Jerm?
Yeah, you can go.
All right. He's gone. There we go. He asked what the weakest strength of schedule is in the SEC. It's Ole Miss. They're 33rd in the country. Next, Tennessee at 30. And then next is Missouri at 28. So, I mean, if you look at the top 5 strength of schedules, I'm going off of ESPN. I don't know where other people are going off of. Oklahoma is number 4 in the category. Georgia, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Florida is your top 5.
So answer me this then, Hunter and Jay.
Wait, real quick before you ask this, I want to respond to Chris's here. I think he's right. I think you can throw the non-conference stuff out. It's the conference schedules that are determining these things. But
here's my point, Jay. I agree. You can't control who's on your schedule. They're made up. Okay, Chris is right on that. However, Hunter and Jay, with that being said, how can you honestly sit here and say Hunter just read, and I appreciate the facts there. The worst strength of schedule in the SEC was 33?
Correct, almost.
So you cannot say they took strength of schedule into account. They did not take strength of schedule into account, guys.
No, I don't think they did.
Well, they
Okay.
didn't. I mean, that was clear with when you look at Alabama versus SMU.
Well, I know
mean,
that's what you were
SMU
saying earlier. You said strength of schedule with Army and all those other schools. They don't
Nope.
care about strength of schedule in the top 12. It's only
Jeremy,
outside the
what
top 12.
I'm saying is different than what the committee says.
I
am
agree.
saying
Yeah.
my opinions right now. I'm
And-
not saying the opinions and the method in which the committee
It's got to change.
evaluated it. Yes,
Gotta
it's
change.
different. It does have to change, and hopefully there's enough of it when a name like Alabama, that's usually the brand, when they get left out, something can change from that. I would think that maybe that could lead to some stuff changing. It's just I cannot believe that there's a playoff. There's only 3 SEC teams in there and 2 from the ACC plus Notre Dame. So
And I think
Notre Dame's great. I think Notre Dame might. That's a team to watch. I think they could go.
I think they may win the whole thing. Hey,
With
and
the way their offense is rolling right now and defense lights out.
yeah, Jerm, I think we owe Mark a hat. I mean, from earlier this year, we said 4 or 5 guaranteed to get in from the SEC.
We do.
And hey, the ones asking about the OU portal stuff and visits, we'll talk more about stuff like that on the nightly live at 9:30. But no, Notre Dame's frauds. I disagree with that, Steeler man. And you could say it based on their schedule, but what I've watched with my eyes, the eye test, you look at their top 5 in offense and defense. What I watch with my eyes is they are a really good team, and I think they're going to prove it. I right now have them in the national title game on one side. I don't know who yet I'm picking on the other side.
I think Boise's a good team too.
But I think Notre Dame's going to be in the championship game.
Hey, so guys, what Hunter said earlier, and I agree with, there's got to be criteria. It should be better communicated what the criteria is. For example, you can't just say that the top 4 SEC schools are going in. That can't work because some year you might have a bad team that's 4th in the SEC.
And see the way that they try to, that's what's so difficult about the SEC of determining the schedule of how to make it fair with 16 teams and all that. I mean, things fluctuate from year to year. Some teams you think are going to have a really good conference schedule and turns out to not be great. And then vice versa. You think it's not going to be that good. Like Texas, especially. I think a lot of people thought they had hands down the easiest conference schedule out of all the teams, which, I mean, they did, but strength of record or strength of schedule says that they did not. So, I mean,
I got a scenario.
Or they have no top 25 wins currently.
Bring back the computers.
I got a scenario. You ready for it? Here's what I think might be best to do in this situation. I know a lot of people won't be happy with this, so just hold on. In every year before this, when you had the regular playoff, what was it to get your 4 best teams? What was it?
Win your conference.
Well, no, you didn't get on automatic bid if you won your conference.
Well, that was if you're going to be a top 4 team, you pretty much have to win.
Why don't you just keep it at 12 or go to 16 and just go 12 best teams in rankings? Period. Don't do conference.
If they do that,
I
Madman brings up a great point. People wanted a subjective process, which was the computer system. That was, I mean, it was done by computer. You plugged in all the things and you got the teams. People wanted a subjective process to be objective. Now that it's objective, people complain. I agree with that 100%. I'd rather go back with what you just said, Jay. Top 12 teams or top 16 teams based on computer, based on strength of schedule, Sagarin ratings, Jerry Palm, put them all in there. That's who you got.
No, and it doesn't have to be computer. I like the eye test too. And also, if you win your conference, it's a big deal. And in that scenario, you'd be ranked higher because you win your conference. But still, go with the top 12. Make it top 12. I don't know. I mean, Michigan to play an SEC team.
Now that would be great. It's going to be Bama, Michigan. It's going to be Bama.
Yeah, I think that'd be Bama.
I don't know.
So coming for those Eagles next week, Hunter.
Hey, we got Corey on the line.
What's up, Corey?
I just wanted to get on here and say one thing. It's never going to be right. People are always going to complain about the playoff. It is what it is.
You're right, but that's what makes it fun. That's why we're on here. It's fun. I like it.
Yeah. I'm just happy we knocked Alabama out the playoff.
Oh, You did?
No,
he's saying
you
OU
did.
and I agree. I mean,
Oh,
that
okay.
part, but I'd rather OU be in it
Yeah, me
Gotcha.
too.
than
Gotcha.
Bama be out of it.
Yeah.
I'm glad the Bama's not in it. I think a fourth SEC team should have been in it, and I think I would have picked South Carolina if I was on that committee. That's just me.
I'm with you, Joe.
South Carolina just beat Clemson, guys. Does that
They won
matter?
They won 6 in a row, including the precious ACC conference champion, Clemson.
Why is the and I think Beamer had a great point when they were talking to him yesterday. They want to talk about data points. The last data point was South Carolina beat Clemson, who has won the ACC now.
Yeah, it's the whole thing doesn't make sense.
Hey,
And
Corey,
Where was that
thanks for
game
the
at,
call.
Jay?
Corey, thanks for the call.
the game was at Clemson in Death
Exactly.
Valley, and South Carolina
Sixth
won.
place SEC school went to
Correct.
Clemson at
Yes.
the end of the season when
In a
Clemson
rivalry
had,
game and
when
won.
Clemson had
Yeah.
nearly everything to play for. Clemson had
So-
everything to play for. South Carolina beats them and doesn't get in.
So let me ask you this: why did they not put South Carolina in over SMU, who just lost to the same team 1 week later?
I don't know. It
And
doesn't
I
make
my
sense.
problem. Too many
Because-
people are talking about Alabama and SMU. Throw that one out. Compare South Carolina and SMU.
Yeah, I think it should have been South Carolina. I've talked a lot about Bama because they were the highest ranked one. Not that I agree with it. They're just the highest ranked SEC team in the eyes of the committee. So that's the one you go to. Real quick, I know Steelman was talking about the Eagles. Former Sooner Grant Calcaterra catching his first touchdown moments ago in that game.
What's the score in that game, Hunter?
22-16 against a very bad team.
Hey.
Not happy at all.
Hey,
What's going on?
I think it was Ben that said you'd be really shocked if you saw the BCA or the computer rankings right now. They'd be very similar to college football playoff. I disagree. I wish there was a way you could go back right now. I wish the BCS could release the top 12 if they would have had it.
I wish I would have saved the tweet. I'll try to find it maybe in a minute on here and read off what it was. But I saw from the BCS what their rankings are. Somebody still operates the website, by the way. So
Yeah, and first off, Cade asked, we are going live tonight at 9:30 every night. We'll be back tonight. We just want to jump on here and do this live. But I'm going to throw a trivia question out there because that's what we do sometimes on the Sooner Surge. And check out the FanStop, www.thefanstop.com. Use code SURGE. You'll get 10% off your first 3 months if you sign up for the shirt of the month. If you're a fan of Texas, I don't know if they have Texas up. They got a lot of SEC schools in there. Go check them out. Trivia question, pretty easy. Somebody brought up the BCS. Who was the head of the BCS? The main guy. Do you know who I'm talking about? His computer rankings. Who was it? Name. That's the trivia question. I'll give you his initials.
They'll get that very quickly. Hey, Corey, thanks for calling in. OU will find out very shortly, probably.
It was not Germ, Grey God, and it was not.
Mine were not called the BCS ratings. Mine were called the BS ratings.
It was not Brett. You got the first initial right. B. B is the first initial.
as people are typing that in the chat. So BCS standings as of today: Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, Tennessee, Indiana, Boise State, Arizona State, Alabama 11, SMU 12, Clemson 13.
I think that's a great ranking. I like that.
So it is. So the caller, the commenter was right. It's very similar.
Yes, very similar.
It does sound like they took a little more strength of scheduling with Bama's.
Yes, and SMU still staying above Clemson after the loss.
I like that ranking. I like those rankings.
Yeah.
Dalpo says Bill Hancock. Bill Hancock was as far as the playoff. That's not the name.
He's been involved. He's been involved
in a lot.
He's been involved. I'm looking for the guy that had. I'm looking
Correct.
for the guy that had the computer ranking guy.
Yes.
And he's part of the, do you know what I'm talking about, right, Hunter?
I don't know the name. I know it's not Bill
Okay.
Hancock.
I'll give you the initials.
What
First
other
name
stuff.
starts with B. Second name starts with an E. There you go. First name B, second name E. That's the name I'm looking for. If you remember, he was all over ESPN all the time. Clemson won a conference. SMU played for one. Chris, I understand what you're saying, but South Carolina just beat Clemson the week before in Clemson. I don't know. Not Bert and Ernie, Darren. I'm surprised nobody's gotten this question. Aren't you?
Correct.
Um,
Not Darren's. Yeah, historic information.
I
We're
will
old.
say Google isn't helpful. I'm trying to find it, and I can't find
Does
the
Jay
name.
even know the name?
who?
Yeah,
You.
Yes, I know it.
What is
I
it?
wonder if
Thank
Jay
you,
has-
Daniel.
There it is. Brad
Thank
Edwards.
you, Daniel. Brad Edwards.
Yeah.
Good
Hey,
job.
listen, tonight at 9:30, we've got a lot more coming your way. Of course, the portal opens up tomorrow. It's going to be exciting. Thanks for hopping on here today for an hour to talk about the college football playoff. Be back on here again at 9:30 tonight. There'll be plenty to talk about, I'm sure, as there always is. Thanks to the callers that called in. Thanks to the commenters that are on here all the time. We appreciate you all. We'll see you tonight at 9:30.